Hope you're all having a good day. I am in Nelson Bay today. It's actually raining here, and I believe it's also raining in Sydney. It's been terrible weather recently. I hope all the people that are affected by floods are okay. And for all of you that are just out here, trying to keep dry, you have a good weekend anyways. Esther, hello. Blonde Aussie, hey, hello, welcome, happy Friday. Jace and Steph, Zach, good to see you all. Okay, I'm going to kick off. So, this is a question for me personally. I started investing when I was 22. I am now 35, so it's been 13 years. And one of my biggest dreams has been to be able to buy my own home, to buy something nice that I could work on, make it my own. I wanted a home for my family. I've now got my little son, Leonardo. He is 8 months old, and Charlotte, hey Catalina, and Charlotte is of the same mind where we'd love to stop moving around so much, have our own home, feel a little bit more settled, and, basically buy a home that we love, that we can enjoy, that we can nail holes in the wall, put up, frames, and do things the way that we want to do them. This has been a dream of mine for basically since I started investing in property. And I'm now at a position that I can do that. I'm very close to it. Just recently this year, I have sold 3 investments. I sold my Lakemba property. That was my first investment. I made some good money out of that one there. It was a great first investment. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. South facing. A lot of people would say that's not that good an investment, but it was good enough because it allowed me to get into the property ladder, use equity, buy my second property. I sold my Newcastle. I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car in Newcastle West. That sold. I got a really good price for that one there. That was my third property, but I sold that one off. And I also sold, I had a St. Peter's apartment. St. Peter's is near Newtown, Inner West. It was a beautiful little apartment. I actually lived in that apartment for a couple of years with Charlotte. It was great that I lived in that property because when I sold it, it meant that I didn't have to pay capital gains tax on that property. So, having now sold all that property, I've got a chunk of cash that I can use, and I'm at an inflection point where I've done the math. I'm looking at potentially buying my own home, and I'm starting to hit some early hurdles. And the early hurdles are that when doing the math on buying my own home, I'm starting to feel that there's going to be a lot of additional pressure that I wasn't really factoring in. I actually just got a text message from an agent about a property that's off market. Now, the properties that I'm looking at spending, a couple of $1 million, and there's going to be a bit of debt that's attached to that property. And when I'm looking at the interest rates going up, it's making me worried because I've never really had so much debt before, debt that I needed to service. And having a 4, 5, maybe 6% interest rate means that my repayments would be looking at, $70,000, $80,000 a year, maybe more. And that's in post-tax dollars. So after I've paid all my tax on my income, I have to come up with an additional $70,000, $80,000 a year and pour it into this property. On top of that, I've also got to then do renovations to the place, and it's making me nervous. It's making me really nervous, especially because I've also got a wedding coming up in the next couple of years. I've also got to do renovations to this investment property that I'm in now. And it just feels like there's going to be a lot of cash going out. So what that's actually forced me to do is to stop, pause, reflect for a minute, and maybe be a little less emotional and take, again, some of my own advice. So the kind of conversation I've been having with Charlotte is, do we buy our own home or do we go back out and start to invest again? Now, thinking about this question again, it's been difficult for me to raise it with Charlotte because she wants our own home. I want my own home as well. There's all the renovations I'd love to do. But I've started showing her what it would look like if we were to invest our money. So anecdotally, I've been looking at different investments. And if I were to go and invest, say, let's just say $1 million into a commercial property or into a residential property, something where I can get a good yield out of that investment, a good cash return. There's some investments I'm looking at where I may be able to yield or net, between $12,000 and $15,000 a year after all expenses. So if I were to go and invest $2 million instead of buying my own home and bought two investments or $2 million worth of investments, I may be able to get between $20,000 and $30,000 a year net income instead of me having to go and pay out $80,000 a year out of my own pocket. Now, with that 30, you're all probably saying, well, you've obviously, if you go and invest, you got to live somewhere. But in this instance, I'd have $30,000 a year in income that I can actually then go and use to go and rent somewhere. So rather than going and paying $80K out of pocket, which is, let's just do a little bit of math here. I'll get my calculator up. Excuse me, there's my calculator. All right, excuse the camera. Great. So 80K a year, roughly 1, 2, 3 divided by 12. That's about $1,500 per week. Now, if I'm going to get a $30,000 a year passive income from an investment, that means that if I were to go and spend $80,000 a year in rent, I'd get $30,000 back. So I'd be, the net effect would only be $50K a year. So 50, 1, 2, 3 divided by 12, 52. So it's like I'd only be really paying $950 a week instead of $1,500 a week. So it's a lot less of a cash problem for me because I'm getting much more passive income. And I guess it also has an additional benefit that I have growth in the asset. And I also have the additional benefit, which I haven't factored into here, of all the tax savings. If you go buy a brand new property, the depreciation in the building is huge. You can depreciate by 2.5% per year over 40 years. Fixtures and fittings are also a massive tax deduction, plus all of the expenses, the agent fees, the insurance. If it's a strata apartment or a townhouse, strata comes back to me. So the long story short is I'm basically at a crossroads. There's a massive emotional purchase. There's a benefit to buying your own home where emotionally feels good. You have the comfort of not having to move around as much. You can just stay put. You can also spend money on the property to increase the value of it. And if you do sell your own home, you don't pay any CGT or capital gains tax. All big benefits. But if I buy my own some new investments, I get to receive a whole bunch of passive income, which makes living much more comfortable. And I get the growth out of the asset. I get the tax deductions out of the asset as well. I also get the benefit of spending, say, $1,500 a week in rent and choosing there's a whole bunch of really good places you can afford for that amount. So look, I haven't got the answer. I don't know what I'm going to go do next, but it was a topic of discussion that I wanted to bring to you all today because it's something that's weighing on my mind and I'm sure it's weighing on all of yours. So I'll close it out. If any of you got questions, let me know. But if you're like me and not sure whether or not you want to buy your own home or buy an investment, feel free to reach out to the team, reach out to myself or anyone at Wealthy. We'll do the math for you. We'll show you what it looks like if you buy your own investment versus if you bought your own home. We can extrapolate those figures over 5 and 10 years. But it is an emotional decision that you need to make. And I hope with a little bit of math and talking to the right people, it brings some clarity to you. Anyways, Have a wonderful Friday, a good, restful weekend, and I'll see you all next Friday.